There was a point in time where my family couldn't afford a stove, so my mom and I got an Instant Pot. We settled with a $40 Instant Pot that was still amazing quality. However, the reason we could not afford the $100 plus pot that had many more features was due to inflation.
Inflation is a rise in prices that affects goods and services. When these goods and services are inflated, it reduces purchase power of consumers since they cannot afford these products or services with the increased prices. Inflation affects businesses and consumers. There are multiple causes of inflation. However, there are only a few that affect our business and other businesses alike. If prices of supply increase, then businesses have to increase their prices in order to keep their profit margin. If consumers buy too many goods and services, businesses have to increase their prices in order to keep up with inventory.
We chose to reduce inflation by utilizing option 3, which is replacing the price model. Specifically, we will implement a key value pricing model. This is a pricing strategy that combines inexpensive and expensive products. So during times of high inflation, popular products will be discounted while additional products are not. With this model, you can attract customers since their favorite product is discounted, but companies still make money with other items which are full price. Overall, this generates more profit and is better for consumer perception.
Corporate businesses and partnerships will benefit most from the key value pricing model, whereas nonprofits won't. For example, a corporate business such as Apple offers a variety of products utilizing a key value pricing model strategy, especially during their back-to-school promotion, where they provide a free pair of AirPods when the customer buys a qualifying product, such as a Mac Mini, Mac Pro, iPad, and other products. Supply and demand controls share prices, and Apple stock every summer goes up during their back-to-school promotions. In the summer of 2019, their stock went up 4%. 2020 was a 6% increase. 2021 was another 6% increase. We see constant success from Apple, considering how post-pandemic was when inflation was at an all-time high. Evidently, Apple has major success every year when they do this key value pricing strategy.
So to implement this, we will first analyze what products bring the most customers to our store and what items are most frequently bought. Next, we will predict the price of both our key value items and additional products and set up our model for a test run period over 6 months. Then we will regroup and then make any necessary adjustments.
Overall, we found option 3, replacing the price model, the most compelling in our situation. Over the 6-month period, we expect positive results in terms of our business gaining profit, while consumers gaining better perception of our business during these high times of inflation.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Thiago. This is White Plains High School. Inflation is the rate of increase in price over time, and it happens when major events like COVID, the war in Ukraine, and political disputes happen. This puts more pressure on the supply-demand relationship between supplier and the consumer, which can range from gas-based corporations to the average American. For example, since the war in Ukraine, oil prices have increased from $76 a barrel to $110 a barrel in 3 months. This affects the average American because oil is an inelastic good, meaning that consumers cannot put oil out of their lives, unlike elastic goods like bananas, M&Ms, or gum, which people can find alternatives to and completely stop buying. Oil is an everyday need in our daily lives because it takes oil to cover transportation costs and fuel the quantities to go to work, affecting the everyday American.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth, and I'm a junior. Businesses experience many effects due to inflation. Some negative impacts of inflation include increased competition, higher employee wages, and an increased consumer prices. As businesses realize they are losing money, they try and find cheaper materials, which can lead to a shortage. If people can't find a product from a brand they usually shop from, they try and find an alternative, which leads to increased competition. So when prices continue to rise, wages also must rise for employees to be able to maintain a living, which then causes businesses to make less profits. Some positive effects include more people investing, more jobs, and increased efficiency. When investors see that prices are rising, they take a chance to invest, and this allows their money to grow, which in the end benefits businesses. Also, inflation can encourage companies to hire more workers because of that increased demand for products and services. Businesses become more efficient because as inflation occurs, they learn how to deal with certain problems. As seen in this chart in the US, when inflation rates go up, unemployment goes down. This is because when prices increase during inflation, people need to make more money, which then leads to higher employment. Although inflation affects all businesses, some are hurt less because of brand loyalty and strength. People tend to stay with certain companies since they offer some benefits that others don't. For example, Starbucks has a rewards program that allows you to collect points, which you can then use to get free things. Your local coffee shop might not have the system, so many would stay with Starbucks.
Hi, my name is Sarah Namajundi. According to the CNBC, consumers are spending $445 more per month to buy the same goods and services they did a year ago. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics, consumer prices rose 8.2% in September 2022 in comparison to September 2021. For example, grocery prices have jumped 8.4%, while menu prices went up 8.8%. Unfortunately, many workers' wages have not been able to keep up with inflation. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics, hourly earnings have fell 3% on average while accounting for inflation. Because workers' pay raises cannot keep up with the rate of inflation, meaning consumers are losing purchasing power while eroding their savings. This happens when the inflation rate exceeds the interest earned on a savings or checkings account. If you have $100 in your savings account and the inflation rate is running at 2%, you will need $102 to have the same buying power you started with. In the end, the consumer standard of living is affected.
Hello, my name is Ariana Ronin, and we decided to select the replace the price model because we felt that it would be the most effective option to deal with inflation. As the pandemic was a catalyst, more demand overstripped supply, causing inflation, and the results are higher prices, more demand, less availability of certain products. According to a survey by KPMG, price was the most common complaint that consumers had regarding streaming services. In addition, 14% of respondents said they would like to see more bundling options to have fewer subscriptions to manage. Amazon Prime was an example where subscribers would pay $14.99 monthly or $139 annually. We use dynamic pricing, which allows a company to respond more effectively to changing market conditions. And streaming service providers should not only be thinking about raising prices, but offering other options. And the emotions that if you were not going to use a whole year, it would be on the initial price, it would keep customers more granular. I would like to pass it on to you.
Hi, I'm Raji, and I'm a senior. In order to justify Optimum and Verizon's price increase, we must understand the difference in the products that are offered. Optimum added a phone plan, while Verizon added a TV plan to the already existing bundles. If they were to further increase their price, consumers are less likely to stop paying for them. And in conclusion, to alleviate inflation and induce hardships, companies must replace their pricing model by introducing bundles and prioritizing flexibility in pricing for inelastic goods to increase customer loyalty over a long period of time, keeping their company afloat.
And lastly, we just want to thank you for allowing us to present.
For our 2023 Business Skills Olympics case study, our group has been given the topic of inflation. What is inflation, you may ask? It is a rapid increase or just an increase in general of the price of production and goods or services. It is something we are going through right now, and it's often caused by natural disasters, man-made disasters, or just scarcity in materials. I will now pass it on to Jason to explain to you how it affects consumers.
Inflation and how it affects us, the consumers. So inflation affects us as the consumers by reducing the quality of the service and goods that we're used to. It also affects the availability and also the affordability of the items and goods we're used to purchasing.
Inflation affects our businesses by affecting the quality of production, our production rate, and the brand's reputation of the business.
Now I'm going to present the strategies to tackle inflation. Option 1, recalibrate and clean up the portfolio. Create an expensive brand so your current brand can fluctuate. Option 2, reposition the brand to reduce marketing costs while lowering costs of products. Option 3, rephrase the price model. Price per month, move from fixed cost to a subscription-based pricing.
Okay, so what option we chose? So after reviewing with all our members, we ended up choosing option 2, reposition the brand. So what is that? That is when we as a company spend less on advertising, and we are able to, with that saving we make from spending on advertising, we can give it to the consumer. So it meaning that we will lower the price of our products, and that way, in a market where during the times of inflation, that since we're lowering the price of our product with the savings from the removal of advertising and stuff like that, in the whole scheme of the competition and everything, we are the one company that's lowering our prices, so we become more naturally to the consumer, the more likely choice, because consumers during the time of inflation are going to choose the more affordable price, and they're going to go with that product. So hopefully with that, so just like that, we'll be able to get more people to buy from our brand, from our company, with our lowered product prices. And like that, we spread to more people like that as well, and that way we become more profitable instead of we rely more on our product instead of relying on spreading to people, and hopefully they just buy based on the price.
And now for the conclusion and the reasons why we didn't choose option 1 or 3. We didn't choose option 1 because it's too much of a high risk and you have too much of a strategy plan over time instead of getting money right away. If you were to choose option 1, right, you will need to make a more expensive item in order to make your original item seem like it's at a reasonable price. However, if you do this, like we explained earlier, this might possibly tank your company, or you might just lose all profits in general. We didn't go with option 3 because it is dependent on excessive advertising and inconsistent profits, which again, we said is a big deal. So that's why we feel like option 2 is our best option, because it's the most consistent form, especially on like a flow chart. If you were to look at it, it would be definitely going up instead of as opposed to being stuck or going down. That's why we believe that this is the best solution to combat inflation as a company, for our customers, and for our nation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Real thing.
Good afternoon, judges. My name is Gael Ramos. We are Saunders High School, and this is
Madeline Sanchez,
Brian Velez, Christopher Sanchez,
Alex Romero.
Ayana Bazan. I'm Michaela Hines, and this is our presentation.
So what is inflation, Gael? Inflation is when there is an increase in the general price of a service or a good. So why exactly does this occur?
Well, inflation can inflation can be caused by scarcity or shortages, but it can also be caused by the limited resources. If the resources are limited, this will make the producer spend more money on making the product, which in turn will make the overall good more expensive. But who does it affect, and how does it affect them?
An audience that is mainly targeted by inflation are consumers. Ways in which consumers are affected is when there's a change in price of their needs and wants. When consumers see that their needs and wants have a change in price, either raised or low, it's going to affect the way they see it. If it's raised, they're going to want to look for an alternative, which will leave the business and with some problems, but we'll see later. Consumers also are affected with inflation rates because most of them are workers, and workers have to stay with the minimum wage unless they have a paid salary. But minimum wage doesn't really change as often as inflation rates do. So the worker would have to keep on working until the minimum wage catches up to the inflation rate. Another audience that is targeted is
businesses. So not only consumers here are affected by inflation, businesses are affected in various ways. One being such as when they increase prices, they end up making more money, leading to them having to pay their employers or employees more money due to the fact that they have to stabilize the economy. Another way they're affected is by when they increase their prices, they have a chance of not making any money at all. Why is this? Because the consumers will no longer want to buy their product because the prices are so high. But what's the solution to both of these problems?
Excellent question, Christopher. There are many ways in solving this situation of inflation. For example, repositioning the brand. When repositioning the brand, there are two methods in doing so: fixing the underprice and fixing the overprice. Now, with fixing the overprice, companies tend to lower their costs on production and lower their prices on products, goods, and services.
For example, higher-end brands such as Charlotte Tilbury, Rare Beauty, and Marc Jacobs, if they were to reposition their brand to have lower prices, they will be making their products more accessible and affordable for consumers. Consumers already know that these brands are known for their high quality, so therefore the lower prices will influence consumers to want to buy more.
Another way is underpriced. They would raise prices to give their goods or services a better image, to make it seem the quality has increased. Consumers buy more if image is improved.
For example, these drugstore makeup brands such as Maybelline, e.l.f., NYX, and Wet n Wild are put at cheap prices, which makes the quality also be deemed as cheap. If we were to raise these prices, then consumers would believe and feel as if the quality was also raised. Yes, the amount of money spent on production would stay the same. This would benefit business and it would attract more consumers, which would bring in more profit. And in conclusion,
we're trying to prevent inflation from affecting consumers. We can do this by repositioning the brand, by making the overpriced goods more affordable, and raising the price on underpriced goods.
Good afternoon. Hi, this is Roosevelt's 2023 Business Skills Olympics with African American men of Westchester, and our topic is inflation.
Definition of inflation. When an economy experiences an expansion of the total amount of money, this can be caused from a number of factors, such as cost push, decreases in egregious supply of products due to an increase in production cost. The rising of prices is caused from egregious demand remaining the same. Demand pull. When egregious demand of a good or service exceeds the egregious supply. With demand surpassing the supply, companies resort to raising prices to accommodate. Devaluation. When a country reduces the value of its currency, to make certain goods and services cheaper. In the long run, this can lead to a rise in inflation. Inflation's impact on consumers. Prices gradually increase, rendering minimum wage insufficient as the cost of all living capacities has increased. Companies resort to short-term and simple solutions, raising prices. This is to maintain business expenses and stay active. Consumers now lack the finances to support said businesses. This cycle keeps consumers without necessities and businesses without money to compensate for rising business expenses.
Inflation's impact on corporations. Cost production. Inflation makes the price of materials for businesses increase. This affects businesses by forcing them to raise the prices of goods and products they are selling in order to still make a profit. Advertisements. For example, if the cost of an advertisement on a Times Square billboard increases, that would force the business to either choose whether to spend money on the advertisement and take the chance to see if the profit was worth the cost, or choose to put the money in another option and take a chance on the amount of money that might be attained.
Inflation's impact on service. When inflation is out of control, it affects just about every area of service industries. For example, inflation costs both higher utility costs as well as greater transportation costs. Inflation affects restaurants by limiting the availability of ingredients as well as making prices rise for the customers. Increased inflation leads to both menu changes and the pricing of increased inflation leads to menu changes both in pricing and dish availability. When inflation increases, the items affected by inflation becomes costlier and more scarce since people will buy whatever they can get. Inflation's impact on nonprofit. Nonprofits will suffer through the current inflation because of the trend we saw during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Nonprofit Leadership Survey reported that 53% of organizations saw an increase in demand in 2020 alone. In addition to this, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, consumer prices went up a whopping 9.1% in the same year. Nonprofits will suffer as they will increase reliance on donations, fundraising, and cutting costs, as well as working to stay afloat by seeking more grants or low-interest loans.
The solution, recalibrate and clean up the portfolio. To combat the rising inflation in the country and the costs attached to it, we can aim to recalibrate and clean up the portfolio. This solution will allow companies to appease to both quality and quantity-sensitive consumers, bundle certain items, selling at original price points for familiarity and to allure consumers. Example, 2 for $2, Arizona. Reinvent their market, making expensive and inexpensive alternatives for options amongst consumers.
The impact of recalibration and cleaning up the portfolio. With bundling and reinventing perception of the economy will be allowed to eventually level out. If more companies aim to target more demographics with affordable bundles, then they can still sell their products whilst making a noticeable profit. A system similar to Apple's that covers multiple price ranges and incorporates bundling is exactly what you need to target inflation long term. Apple has proven to release multiple products of varying qualities and various price points, and bundle items in store through their mobile sales like Apple Music, Apple One, and Apple TV. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to develop our public speaking skills. We're grateful for this unique opportunity you have given us. Thank you once again to both African American men of Westchester and Morgan Stanley.
Hello, my name is Juliet Sullivan, and I'm joined by Bella Cardozo, Shaq Diallo, Maya Richards, Aza Sukapashia, Sydney Waterman, Paige Williams, and Jenna Xavier, and we are representing Valhalla High School. By definition, inflation is a rise in prices for goods and services, and a loss in purchasing power of a currency unit. There are many reasons as to why inflation might occur. Printing and giving away money to citizens, legally devaluing the legal tender currency, and loaning new money into existence to the banking system are all possible causes of inflation. Though there are some positives of inflation in the economy, the effects it may have on consumers and businesses can be detrimental.
Inflation impacts almost every aspect of corporate businesses, but not necessarily in a negative manner. As one would expect, inflation increases the cost of services such as manufacturing and marketing. This then requires a price adjustment to keep profit margins up. However, when done correctly, this can actually increase corporate profits. This can be seen by the chart that plots the change in gross profit margins and inflation during the first quarter of 2022 compared to that of 2021. However, inflation still has some negative effects on corporations as it limits the expansion of business, which often impacts corporate stocks and bonds. At the same time, people are also very cautious regarding their investments. This heavily influences service businesses that often use investors to jumpstart their work.
With nonprofit organizations depending very heavily on donations, inflation challenges people's efforts to support nonprofits as they're now struggling on their own. For example, someone who budgets their money for monthly utilities are more likely to reduce their nonprofit donations as utility costs increase and put a strain on their own income.
Service businesses are also deeply disrupted by inflation. Due to inflation, the prices of resources such as building materials and fuel for machines have gone up by 65.7%, along with an 8.5% increase in the price of manufacturing. As a result, fewer workers are hired by service companies because they cannot afford to hire as many people. Nevertheless, workers that manage to hold on to their jobs are tipped less by customers because they are already paying higher prices for these services. With food prices rising by 10.6%, workers in grocery stores and restaurants must search for cheaper alternatives as consumers face new expenses.
Given the inherent nature of inflation, a fixed income gives way to a general erosion of consumers' purchasing power. With greater stress put on a stagnant supply, consumers are forced to prioritize certain goods and services over others, pushing them to reconsider the allocation of their funds. Brand names become less suitable to rely on, and in turn, consumers focus more exclusively on their private counterparts. People begin to see more variety as prices rise, giving way to more competition between businesses. Though products like gas and groceries pose the greatest amount of concern amidst inflation, the widespread rise in expenses launches a cascade into effect, where an inability to afford goods presents hardship in daily expenses and investments. The aforementioned struggles disproportionately affect low-income consumers as they are unable to keep pace with rising prices. Due to the widespread effects of inflation on consumers in different economic sectors, large revisions made to the portfolio would help manage financial imbalances to improve the standings of our businesses.
One way to recalibrate and clean up the portfolio is to create higher value products for higher value clientele. This increases profit margins and better appeals to the public. For example, a car company produced a higher value car that had certain features which separated it from the lower end model. Using Tesla as an example, they lowered the prices of their Model S and Model X 20% off their starting price and an additional 4 to 9% a few months later. To combat inflation, they expanded their demographic by decreasing prices to attract consumers.
To resist inflation, service businesses can make bulk offerings to display their prices as desirable to customers. For example, Stop & Shop sells a 6-pack of paper towels for $17.19. Customers can also purchase a 12-pack of paper towels for $27.99. Customers will see that they get double the amount of paper towels for only $10 more, so they will choose the larger pack of paper towels nearly every time. Stop & Shop's overall revenue increased by 4.6% from 2021 to 2022, which was in part due to the many deals placed on goods. By bundling products together at more affordable prices, service companies can make higher profits and draw more customers to their prices.
As nonprofits endure the effects of inflation, collaboration has been shown to be an effective way in which companies can help each other succeed. When collaborating with for-profit businesses, nonprofits will begin directing their efforts towards companies and less on seeking individual support for their organizations. For example, the YMCA can offer fitness classes that can be specifically marketed to Bank of America employees, and they can leverage this by offering discounts and other benefits to them, therefore making more money through Bank of America than they would from seeking donations from individuals.
Better understanding their portfolios and inventories and manipulating them accordingly to better serve consumers help company sales improve dramatically. These new systems will result in long-term profit for companies, as well as help business entities and consumers combat inflation rather than letting them dismantle the foundation of our growing economy. Recalibrating and cleaning up the portfolio will benefit all parties as we use rising prices to our advantage by fighting inflation from within. Thank you.
3, 2, 1. Hi, my name is Emily.
I'm Will. I'm Jose.
I'm Sophia.
I'm Selena.
And we are from Ossining High School, and this is our submission to the African American Men of Westchester Morgan Stanley Business Skills Olympics of 2023. What is inflation? Inflation is when the purchasing value of money decreases and the general price of goods and services increase. Causes of inflation include demand pull and cost push situations, rising wages, changes in government policies, increased money supply, and the devaluation of the US dollar. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the US government distributed around $1 trillion in pandemic relief, and businesses and factories closed due to quarantine policies. However, demand was still high. Inflation impacts consumers in that it causes for them to cause changes in personal budgets, which include cutting discretionary spending to focus on needs.
Now that we know what inflation is, we can look at its impact on businesses. When there is inflation, companies face higher borrowing costs, making it more expensive for them to have loans. As a result of this, it becomes challenging for these businesses to expand their operations and invest in new projects or new equipment. The impacts on industries. Corporations have a lot of different costs. All of these will see an increase in price because of inflation. For example, the airline industry price index has risen 28.5% in just the past year. Nonprofit organizations are going to face struggles when it comes to inflation because people don't have as much money to donate because they're already spending so much on other things. Services are affected because they are driven by wages, so services are going to have to cost more because everything else has changed in value.
So our product, what do we bring to the table? So our company offers a fan favorite racing video game, Forza Horizon. We have millions of loyal consumers and we've been doing it for nearly 20 years. So why change the price model? After COVID-19, we saw a dip in sales, which is likely due to inflation. Consumers are cutting discretionary spending and focusing on buying necessities. We saw a 33% decrease in entertainment spending, and more specifically to us, a 20% decrease in video game spending. Our solution to this, originally we had a $60 video game that we released every 2 years. If we change the price model to a subscription, we will have 3 tiers, and then on the next slide, we can see how they are broken up. So the silver tier is $4.99, and if they keep the subscription for 24 months, we'll see our revenue double. Our gold is $6.99, and our revenue there will almost triple. And a platinum at $9.99, revenue will almost quadruple during the same time span.
So due to inflation, we decided to change to a pricing model. We created a tier subscription type model, and where consumers choose between 3 different types of packages. Subscription models allow consumers to pay small monthly fees to keep the game and choose between different packages for different fees. Consumers are likely to pay a small fee every month instead of doing a one-time purchase of $60 for a game that they don't receive any updates throughout the game. Subscription-based models are actually achieving a 5% faster revenue growth than the S&P 500. We also decided to focus on psychological pricing. So instead of pricing things at even numbers such as $5, we decided to do things like $4.99, so consumers are thinking that they're spending less in the game. It's important to keep all consumers. Not all consumers can keep up with the price increase. For example, if we decide to change the prices from $60 to $80 to keep up with our own expenses, instead by doing monthly payments, consumers feel like they pay less and still prioritize important spending such as bills, etc., while still taking advantage of our new prices. Consumers get what they pay for. Different tiers provide different things, therefore all consumer demographics will stay with our company.
Thank you, Sophia. As you can see, our solution is ideal for this situation. We understand that during times of inflation, consumers may spend their money more on necessities like groceries or bills. Therefore, we have adapted our pricing model to allow consumers to try out the game first and see if they like it. Our strategy will also have recurring revenue stream and predictable cash flow. This will match our revenues with our expenses. As for cons, an increase in revenue is not guaranteed. However, we already have a strong loyal player base with over 28 million users that are likely to continue to subscribe. Also, our lower price tag will attract new players that will enjoy the game just like our current players do. In conclusion, we believe our solution is both practical and effective and demonstrates our commitment to finding innovative solutions to complex challenges. Thank you so much for listening to our presentation and have a great day.
Okay, so my name is Zeke, and I'm going to talk about the impacts of inflation. So inflation is just the rate that goods and services rise in price. and that would cause the purchasing power of a currency to fall, whether it's the dollar, the euro, the peso. An item could be the same, but it's just that the price will increase. So that means that both the consumer and the firm have to invest money into the best possible solution and weigh their options. For the consumer, again, it raises the price of goods and services. So your Netflix subscription could cost more or food costs more. So that means that the consumer has to be more frugal with their money and consider what really is the best option. And because prices are going up, that also includes necessities. So even for lower income families, they might need to decide which necessities they have to let go of, unfortunately, due to inflation. As for the businesses, it affects input costs. So the point of a firm is to make money. So if it costs more to produce, then they're going to want to subsidize that through either increasing prices or selling less. So like for the food industry, there's shrinkflation where the quantity of an item will decrease, but the price will stay the same for the consumer to be misguided and think that's the same exact thing. Or they'll raise the price while keeping the quality the same, convincing that to the consumer that the drawback is a necessary drawback. And along with the food industry, there's nonprofits. They also suffer from inflation because no matter what, the expenses are going to increase and their profits are either staying the same or they're decreasing because people are saving during inflationary periods. So they have to look out for that as well.
Hello, my name is Alex Mohammed, and I'm gonna talk about mitigating business costs and repositioning for small businesses. So for small businesses suffering from inflation, we suggest that they reposition their business. A small business should shift its focus on focusing on around the community. As local businesses, they usually have higher price products, so we plan on mitigating marketing costs to lower input costs and focus more on word of mouth marketing, which is local and is way cheaper. Here are some different pricings for small businesses that can be used for repositioning. During an inflationary period, we recommend that a small business changes its pricing model and raises its prices. With raising prices, we can reposition our brand as a company that values itself by maintaining high quality goods and services during an inflationary period. We could also use a slogan to help solidify this message to our customers. While our dollars may be depreciating, our service is not. Also, we want to provide value through deferred pricing. Small businesses can use bundling promotions and also a referral system because this helps reposition and market to our local audience while offering lower prices for our customers during an inflationary period. By staying transparent and being emotionally intelligent with our customers, it allows for us to build trust with our customers and continue a sustainable business, which is vital.
Hello, my name is Stephen Filippo, and today I'm going to be discussing repositioning nonprofits. Most of the revenue of a nonprofit organization would normally originate from a donor of some sort. However, during inflationary periods, this would mean that despite expenses increasing, revenue would either be the same or decrease. However, in repositioning our model, using the values of ethics and morals would incentivize more people to donate to nonprofits, similar to how during the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of nonprofit organizations would incentivize people to donate towards medical equipment. In addition to promoting this same idea would also help people in times of need where prices are rising, so we could obtain as much revenue as possible. In addition to reposition communication towards donors via letters, emails, and text would cause expenses to decrease while picking interest and causing flow of money to the nonprofit, as well as those in need during a time of inflation.
Hello, my name is Megan White, and I'll be discussing hospitality. As inflation progresses, people gain more consideration for their budget and the amount they spend on a daily basis. As expected, hospitality and travel would be a large expense that would invoke this price-sensitive mindset. To combat this, businesses can introduce new offers, experiences, or completely shift their prices to attract customers with deals and sales that appeal to their budgets. This brings in revenue with new customers due to the lower costs. Although prices are reduced, the influx of new customers would make up for the price differences. An example of this would be hotels throughout the month of April. Deals could be offered throughout April at various hotels around the United States or entire month-long sales to attract vacationing families with lower than usual prices that appeal to their budgets. Thank you so much for listening to our presentation, and this was New Rochelle's solution to inflation.
Good afternoon. We are part of the Peekskill High School team presenting our solution to the problem of inflation.
Inflation is the increase in the cost of goods, services, and living. Inflation appears in three forms. Demand pull, which is significant increase in demand for a product that cannot keep up. Cost push, which cost of business rises due to need for raw materials, an increase in wages, and an increase in land rent. Money printing, where the price of money devalues by increased printing of money.
In other words, the decrease of the human dollar, the American dollar. So what is the impact of inflation on consumers? There are numerous impacts, one being gas. Gas has gone up, and though it has gone down recently, it is still more than twice the amount that it was in 2020. Groceries, notably eggs right now that are reaching a high price, and medicine that was actually found to increase by $20,000 or 500% from 2022. And of course, services of delivery such as DoorDash or Uber that rely primarily on gas, which is increasing. So the impact of inflation on businesses. We have businesses grouped into two categories, one being corporate, which is increasing production costs, increasing price, and decreasing product quality, depending on the method that they use to tackle this problem. And of course, this leads to unsatisfactory or unhappy customers. Nonprofits are receiving fewer donations because people just do not have the money to keep up, cannot financially support their cause as much, and is decreasing government aid that they are receiving. Specifically nonprofits, let's say you donate $1 million because of inflation, the value decreases and now becomes, say, $990,000.
We were given 3 strategy options to deal with inflation. Our group felt that repositioning the brand would be the best solution.
Repositioning the brand involves altering the brand's current position gradually by changing the market strategy. With this, brands can make a new market strategy, a new market for their products, and focus on really targeted customers. Oftentimes, the prices of products are misaligned with their values. Inflation is the perfect time to fix that problem. Overpriced values can be brought down, hence gaining a competitive streak, and hence investors are going to be attracted to our business. In addition to that, underpriced products can now be overpriced. Their products can be raised now without losing too many customers, since customers will be anticipating that. In addition, we can also change the target market by making sure that our product is reaching more demographics through phone apps, and hence, once again, our revenues will be going up, will be increasing, and more investors will be reaching out to our business.
By repositioning the brand, consumers will be able to see it in new ways that they haven't before. So in a real life example, in the case of Taco Bell, a lot of people saw it as a cheap fast food industry, but even as something as simple as changing the slogan to Live Más, it allowed a lot of people and consumers to see it as a lifestyle choice, seeing more value and allowing consumers to connect to the brand. Additionally, welcoming modern approaches, it allows not only the business to thrive off new marketing strategies, but the consumers will be able to access the brand and the business more easily through mobile apps, loyalty cards, and just reaching a lot more benefits.
It helps also the business because it expands the target market. It makes it more relevant and resonates with the current situation. With the inflation, they have to adapt to the new needs of the customers. Also, while combating the competition that will also be looking for new strategies to survive as well. An example of this one can be Morgan Stanley, which it was first targeted towards older, more established customers. And now through E-Trade, they have managed to attract more of a younger demographics.
We would like to acknowledge that there isn't a right or wrong solution in choosing one of the 3 business strategies. However, we like to emphasize that our business strategy took into consideration both aspects of the price model and the recalibration solutions without taking their extremities into account.
So to reiterate, repositioning the brand, it portrays the product in a new light, right? It makes it more effective.
Thank you for our presentation. This is our works cited.